making history for Philippines tennis. Are you aware of what that means back home?
Somewhat. I'm aware of what happened.
Hindi ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa
I
akin.
think yan yung talagang pinaka nakakaiyak sa akin is when they play Lupang Hinirang or any like the national anthem and parang matagal ko nang
Alex Eala refuses the rainbow armband. The 10-word statement that just shook the tennis world, the one YouTube channel that never misses the biggest, boldest, and most unbelievable stories in professional tennis. If you're new here, first of all, what kept you waiting so long? And second, you picked the perfect video to begin with, because today we are diving straight into a story so explosive, so controversial, and so incredibly fascinating that it has the entire tennis world spinning faster than a 140-mile-per-hour serve from Aryna Sabalenka. We are talking about Filipino tennis sensation Alex Eala, a rainbow armband, and 10 words, just 10 words, that have sparked a storm nobody expected. So sit back, buckle up, get comfortable, and before we jump into the story, do your boy a favor and smash that like button right now. Let's go. Let's set the stage, because context matters in a story like this. It is 2026, and professional tennis has never been more thrilling. The women's tour is blazing hot. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka continues dominating the rankings. Iga Swiatek is chasing closely behind, and Coco Gauff is firmly establishing herself as the new face of American tennis. And then racing through the field like a rocket launched from Manila Bay is Alexandra Alex Eala of the Philippines, a 20-year-old left-handed baseliner who has just completed one of the most remarkable ranking surges in modern WTA history. She entered 2026 ranked around number 50 in the world, and then within just 6 weeks and 6 tournaments she rocketed up to a career-high ranking of world number 31. Read that again. World number 31. The highest-ranked Filipino women's tennis player in the entire history of the WTA rankings, a list that dates all the way back to 1975. This young star is not simply rising, she is exploding onto the scene. She defeated world number 8 Jasmine Paolini in Dubai, filled stadiums across the Middle East with passionate Filipino fans who traveled thousands of miles just to watch her compete, and turned herself into a global phenomenon. She is a movement, a national symbol, and the biggest storyline in tennis right now. And that is exactly why this moment, this quiet, simple yet incredibly powerful moment, has erupted the way it has. Because the bigger the star, the brighter the spotlight, and the brighter the spotlight, the more every decision stands out. So when Alex Eala was offered a rainbow armband before stepping onto the court, a well-known symbol of support for the LGBTQ+ community, and she declined, the reaction was anything but quiet. The 10 words she used to explain that decision.
Making history for Philippines tennis. Are you aware of what that means back home?
Somewhat.
The court should be about competition. Simple, clear, straightforward, and absolutely explosive in the reaction it triggered. Now here is where Champions Tennis does something no one else does. We are not going to simply read the headlines and move on. We are going to break this down piece by piece because this story has more layers than a Rafael Nadal clay court topspin forehand. Let's begin with Eala's perspective, because if you want to understand why this moment landed the way it did, you have to understand the environment she is operating in right now. Alex Eala has described 2026 as a year that has brought her an overwhelming amount of support and attention from fans.
All right, Alex, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you on court again tomorrow.
The court should be about competition. Simple, direct, and incredibly powerful in the reaction it created. Now this is where Champions Tennis does something different. We are not just going to read headlines and move on. We are going to break this story down layer by layer because it has more depth than a Rafael Nadal clay court topspin forehand. Let's begin with Eala's perspective, because to understand why this moment landed the way it did, you have to understand the world she is operating in right now. Alex Eala has described 2026 as a year filled with overwhelming support and attention from fans, and those are not just polite words for a press conference. The love and attention are real and massive. Wherever she competes, stadiums fill up. In Dubai, the Aviation Club Tennis Center turned into a Filipino celebration every time she stepped onto the court. Thousands of fans traveled across borders just to watch her play. Jessica Pegula, one of the top American players on tour, was asked about Eala and said the way Alex fills stadiums and the way her country supports her is something truly remarkable, adding that she handles the spotlight with impressive maturity and grace. That kind of praise from a fellow professional carries real weight. Coco Gauff, the world number 4 who defeated Eala in the Dubai quarterfinals, even publicly thanked her for bringing an entirely new audience to the sport. Think about that for a moment. The world number 4 thanking a 20-year-old player for expanding tennis. That shows the scale of what Alex Eala represents today. But there is another side to that success, and Eala herself has spoken openly about it. With that love also comes enormous pressure. She has talked honestly about the sacrifices and challenges that come with being under the spotlight while reminding herself that this is exactly what she has worked toward her entire life. Every time she walks onto a tennis court, she represents an entire nation. She has become the face of Philippine tennis on the global stage, and she has acknowledged clearly that in the international tennis world people now associate Filipino tennis with her image. That is not arrogance. It is simply the reality of being a trailblazer. And that reality means every decision she makes, what she wears, what she says, what she posts online, and yes, even what she chooses or refuses to wear on her wrist, is examined closely by millions of people. So when the rainbow armband moment happened and she answered with those 10 words, she was not just making a personal style choice. Whether intentionally or not, she stepped into a global conversation that has been shaping major sports for nearly a decade. And the tennis world reacted immediately. Supporters responded first, and their perspective is understandable. Many believe sports should remain a sanctuary where, once the umpire calls play, the white lines of the court separate the game from the divisions of the outside world. For many fans and athletes who quietly share this opinion, the constant expectation that sports figures must act as social activists can feel exhausting. These are people who spend their lives mastering an incredibly demanding physical and mental craft. They wake up before sunrise to train for hours, travel most of the year living out of suitcases, push through injuries, and recover from defeats that would crush most people. When they finally step onto the court, expecting them to also function as political commentators and cultural spokespersons can feel unfair. Social media filled quickly with reactions like, "She just wants to play tennis, let her focus on the game," and "She's a competitor, not a politician." For many in this group, Eala's quiet refusal looked like professionalism and personal boundary setting. Then the other side responded just as strongly. Critics argued that in today's world, choosing not to make a statement can itself become a statement. Silence, especially when you have both a symbol and a platform, is rarely seen as neutral. The rainbow armband in professional sports is not about delivering a political speech. It is simply a small symbol that can instantly communicate a message to a young LGBTQ+ fan watching in the stadium or at home. You belong here, you are welcome here. Critics say wearing it requires almost no effort but can carry meaningful emotional impact for people who often feel marginalized. They also point out that sports have never truly been separate from social issues. Tennis history itself is filled with moments where athletes used their platform to stand for something. Consider Billie Jean King and the legendary battle of the sexes against Bobby Riggs, which became a defining cultural moment for women's equality. Think about Arthur Ashe speaking out against apartheid in South Africa at personal and professional risk. More recently, Naomi Osaka wore 7 masks during the US Open, each honoring a victim of racial injustice. These examples show that tennis courts have often been stages for social messages as well as athletic competition. To understand why the rainbow armband has become such a powerful symbol, you have to look beyond tennis. At the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the One Love armband controversy dominated headlines. Several European team captains planned to wear rainbow-colored armbands to promote inclusion, but FIFA warned that players could receive yellow cards if they did so. The captains ultimately backed down, yet the debate around the armband became one of the biggest stories of the tournament. The symbol carried so much cultural weight that it overshadowed many matches themselves. In tennis, the situation carries an additional layer for Alex Eala. She is not only a rising star but also a representative of the Philippines, a nation with strong Catholic traditions where views about LGBTQ+ rights vary widely across generations and communities. Her supporters include progressive young fans in Manila as well as older, more traditional followers who simply see her as a national hero. Balancing those audiences while competing under the global spotlight is an incredibly delicate task. When you consider that context, her 10-word explanation starts to sound less like avoidance and more like a carefully balanced response from someone navigating complex expectations. And the story is far from finished. Eala is heading into the American Sunshine Swing, beginning with the prestigious BNP Paribas Open and continuing to the Miami Open. These tournaments attract the biggest names in the sport, including Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, and Elena Rybakina. Just a year ago, Eala arrived in Miami as an unknown wild card and stunned the tennis world with a deep run that introduced her to global audiences. Now she returns ranked number 31, with momentum building and the spotlight brighter than ever. At the same time, the broader tennis world is experiencing a generational shift. At the Australian Open, 5 teenagers reached the third round of a Grand Slam simultaneously for the first time since 2009, signaling the arrival of a fearless new generation of players. The landscape of women's tennis is changing rapidly, and Alexandra Eala stands right in the center of that transformation. What remains undeniable is how quickly her career has accelerated. A year ago, she was outside the top 100. Now she is a top 35 player, defeating top 10 opponents and drawing crowds around the world. She has trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy, carries the hopes of millions of Filipino fans, and represents a new era of Asian presence in global tennis. That is the deeper tension behind the rainbow armband moment. Alexandra Eala is more than just a player declining a symbol. She has become a symbol herself. When someone represents that many hopes and identities, every decision becomes a story and every sentence becomes a headline. And so the question remains, should the court only be about competition, or has it always been about something larger? When thousands of fans fill stadiums to watch someone who reflects their own identity succeed on the global stage, tennis becomes more than a sport. It becomes representation, pride, and belonging. Alexandra Eala's journey is just beginning, and the world will be watching every serve, every rally, and every moment along the way.